And then I checked my email and I see one from Rivian. I'm like, oh, that's my guy reaching out to tell me that my vehicle's ready. Instead of my vehicle is ready, it was, hey, we've increased your price by almost $20,000. It's like, oh my God.
Hey guys, check out this Rivian R1T. I saw this in the parking lot of my climbing gym the other day, and so I decided to use the good old-fashioned business card, put it on the window, try and get a hold of the owner so that we could do a review, and luckily enough, he responded, so let's hear more from him. This is Eugene Kim. He's a dad, a business owner, a climber, and now a new Rivian R1T owner. At least here in Utah, this is the only Rivian that I personally have seen on the road. Well, actually, it was in a parking lot. And I'm so grateful that Eugene is willing to share his experience with us. But first, let's do a test drive. Yeah. Wow, this is beautiful.
Yeah, I would actually say the interior was surprisingly better than I had anticipated.
That's really nice.
You know, you see the like wood accent and you're like, oh, like they've got wood accent. And then you touch it and you're like, oh, like that's actually like, it's faux wood for sure. Like I had a friend confirm that it's definitely some sort of fiberglass composite, but it feels a lot like wood. We have different drive modes. I stay in all purpose because it's the one that actually like makes the car look okay, but then not overly conservative. Off-road, sport, conserve, all of these kind of adjust the ride height and so on. I think I can get to about 15.9 inches for the total lift, which, you know, that's plenty of trucks that I can stand up next to if I wanted to fill it all the way out.
So you've ridden in a Tesla. Have you done the 0 to 60 in a Tesla?
I have done the 0 to 60 in a Tesla. Yeah,
I have too.
I have felt it, and it's surprisingly, oh no, it's not 4 seconds in this vehicle, it's 3, isn't it? 0 to 60.
Well, Tesla's 3.
Yeah, so this one is 3. This one's 0 to 60 in 3. At the salt flats, I got 0 to 60 at 4. And the biggest reason was because I went there while the salt was actually still a little wet, so it's completely just spinning out.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so fun.
It was a blast. Unfortunately, when I did the top speed, like I hit 115, and that's the cap for this car because it'll just stop you there. It absolutely has the ability to go faster, but I hit 115, but the like GoPro is right here, so it just cuts off 115 so you can't see it. So I had to write it in, but it's funny.
But you know you win 150.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like that gut-wrenching, like 0 to 60 to 115. Like you don't even realize how fast you're going until you look at it and you're like, oh, like there I am.
Right.
The interior space was a lot nicer too. Like I was kind of half expecting the same sizes as a Tacoma. But the Tacoma, to me, didn't really feel like a good vehicle for a family. Mm-hmm. This actually feels a lot more like a 4Runner size. Like you actually have way more space in here. You can fit a car, like a reverse-facing car seat in the back. And I actually had my wife's dad up here, and he's 6'4".
Oh wow!
So he's a large man, but we were able to fit the baby back there, and everyone was able to sit very comfortably.
Well, you know what surprised me when I did that test drive is I fit in the frunk.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's huge.
The front is massive.
Yeah.
Interface is pretty good. My niece and nephew, when they jumped in, they're like, "Why do you have a TV in your car?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Well." It is a lot bigger than I anticipated. In Utah, if you count the Rivian Service Center, I've seen like 7.
Okay.
And I've actually driven another Rivian because to be completely frank, I've already taken my Rivian in for service. I did make a video about that because I wanted to document the service experience at Rivian so far.
Why'd you take it in?
I had a service suspension error pop up.
Oh.
And so I just took it in to, check and make sure that everything was okay. And to be honest, it was totally fine. There was just a loose connector, but I'm gonna go 0 to 60. You ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, oh, let's go sport.
Oh God.
So it's gonna go into the lowest mode possible. Okay, ready?
Yep. Nice, so smooth.
It does feel smooth.
It's so smooth. It's not, honestly, the Tesla makes me way more like stomach in my throat.
Yeah. And I have to admit, like, it being bigger really helps with that. But this is obvious. This is absolutely my first electronic vehicle, like acceleration. So that like ready torque is way different than, you know, I have an F-150 that's like got the V6 twin turbos, and like it's great. You can definitely feel that those engines doing something. You can hear the turbos spooling, which is really fun, but definitely does not have the same like get up and go as this.
Right. So when you found out that they had that whole like price change thing and you had this Reservation, how frustrating was that for you?
I was pretty frustrated. I was actually in California for a shoot, and I had been outside all day, and then I checked my email and I see one from Rivian. I'm like, oh, that's my guy reaching out to tell me that my vehicle's ready. And then instead of my vehicle is ready, it was, hey, we've increased your price by almost $20,000. It's like, oh my God.
Wow.
So it was a moment where like I actually had to have a conversation of like, can I actually afford this car anymore? Because like I mentioned to you before, I actually purchased an old 1990 Defender. I built it out. I, you know, redid the turbo. I did all this stuff to it, and then I sold it for a profit, which was great. And I used that to, you know, help buy the car. But when I was looking at the numbers, it's like, man, can I even afford it now, even though I've put in all this work to make this happen? Luckily, worked out just fine. But, you know, it was a moment where it's like, I actually might have to cancel my pre-order because of that.
How long did you have to wait to find out that they would honor your original price?
Oh, I saw the email that evening. I was deciding whether or not I was gonna like cancel my pre-order the next day. I woke up and I had received an email from Rivian about 5 a.m. that morning saying we made a mistake.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you understand from their point of view?
Oh, absolutely. You know, as a business owner myself, as somebody that's currently dealing with the global supply chain and seeing that there really is an issue. We manufacture and distribute gloves. We distribute here in the United States. We manufacture in South Korea, Vietnam, and Pakistan. Pakistan's actually been really easy to get our gloves in through. The ocean freight goes in through Newark, and Newark is a lot less messed up than LA. LA is a total shit show. Sorry, I hope you don't mind me swearing, but like at the end of the day, I've seen one of our cargo containers sitting outside of the port of LA for almost a month, and you're just sitting there hoping to God that the gloves will get there so that you can start sending some product out to your customers. So I understand that there's, you know, a huge strain on the supply chain that they're currently feeding off of. So I'm not entirely too surprised that they increased the price. It was that they increased the price in that substantial of an amount and in one go that was kind of gut-wrenching.
Do you think that it's going to really sabotage their success for new people that want to reserve?
I don't think so. I mean, you're seeing Rivian sell at $150,000 with like 1,000 miles on them. There are people out there that are willing to pay for the vehicle. I do think though that there's going to be less mass adoption, but there's going to be a really good it's going to be good development for their brand in that it's more of a higher ticket item, I think, in that way. Mm-hmm. It does reduce the population that can actually afford the vehicle, but I think on the other end of it, it's kind of paving the way for more vehicles to fit into the category of affordable in the EV category.
Thank you for the test drive.
Yeah, of course.
Test drive number 2.
As we know, Tesla had planned to produce the first Cybertrucks in 2021 and roll out more models in 2022. However, production has been delayed multiple times. Now the official plan is to finish the development of Cybertruck in 2022 so production can begin in 2023. Now, many of you already have your fully refundable $100 deposit for Cybertruck on order. And if you followed any of the headlines, you'll know that Rivian 2 fell behind its original timeline. Its production cycle hurt in part by the events of the past 2 years, the pandemic. The company, although, has started to ship out those R1Ts to early reservation customers like Eugene, but new reservations are unlikely to be filled until about 2023 and could come even later. The Rivian R1T must be ordered online with a $1,000 deposit.
So you put a pre-order in May 2019?
Yeah. So I saw it on Instagram and I was like, oh my gosh, like, is this for real? Because I saw the like estimated distance that they could get on it. I was like, okay, that seems pretty nice. And then they gave a little bit more information about, the vehicle performing, and I actually saw the vehicle that they had, and I was like, okay, so they actually have a vehicle on the road. And I remember thinking, okay, there's a vehicle on the road, it's definitely got to be real, there's no way that this isn't going to happen. And I think it's at the point where electric vehicles, like, it was already bound to happen at some point. I think what Rivian did really great is that it proved the point that there's a really good chance that electric trucks could do well, and as you can see, like Ford and Hummer and everyone else just kind of followed suit. I wanted a EV vehicle, but I never made the choice to jump over because I like going outdoors, I like having the higher clearance. The reason why I chose the Rivian was there's a lot of factors. I think one, they did a really good job with their branding, and hopefully their branding speaks true to the actual mission that they have, which is to be adventurous forever, be part of a lot of things that allow for the sustainability of vehicles in general. I think another one was that it seemed like it was much closer than anything else, because I didn't even know Tesla was coming off a truck. I think for 6 months after I already put the pre-order in on the Rivian. And I think the Rivian was already gaining a lot of traction. I think probably like a month or two after I had put my pre-order deposit in is when Ford came out saying that it invested $500 million. And then that kind of paved the way for, I feel like, Tesla to start pursuing the Cybertruck. So it seemed like this was the closest like electric truck to production. There was a longer process. The purchase process was I pre-ordered, obviously. I got an email saying, we'll reach out to you when we have a better idea of when this car is going to get into your hands. And I got another email that said, oh, it's probably going to happen at the end of 2021. That's what they said. All the production vehicles were going to start getting out. Last year, we were supposed to get our guide reaching out to us before Thanksgiving. That didn't happen. And so Thanksgiving rolls by and they said, oh, we're planning, like, here's your update. Like, you should be expecting your car sometime in the spring. It was March 15th. I got a email from my guide. Her name is Emily. And she reached out and said that I was getting along the lines for my delivery. She sent over the paperwork. I did the whole online process, which was I think for me it was pretty simple because before I bought this, I had a Defender that I had already done all the paperwork and processes for and built out to actually help fund the Rivian. You get all this paperwork, you fill it out, you do the financing all on your own online. You can obviously call your guide if you need help with it. And then after that, I hung out for maybe a day or two, and then I got another email immediately after that said, your Rivian's here, let's schedule it. And it got dropped off that Saturday.
Wow, so you've had it less than a month?
Less than a month. I think this Saturday will actually be a full month.
What do you love the most about it?
I would honestly say the thing that I love the most about the Rivian is the fact that it's electric. For a really long time, and I actually got this question asked to me by my Rivian service guys. They asked me, why did I choose the Rivian and like why electric? And to be honest, I think it's since college. I had like a geology class way back when, and the professor was talking to us about waste and how much waste there was. And we did a little exercise to calculate how much waste we were creating ourselves and what we were putting back into the environment. And mine wasn't terrible, but it was meaningful. Like knowing that half a garbage can worth of stuff is going into the trash and to the landfill every single week is kind of hard to imagine. And then you have all of the movement of trying to become more green, trying to put less emissions into the air. And so I always knew I was going to get an electric vehicle at some point. I just didn't know when it was going to be possible. And, Rivian made it possible because it's a truck. Now I can actually go enjoy the outdoors that I'm trying to preserve without making the outdoors worse.
Right.
Yeah.
And these start at, is it like 80?
Now it's like 80 something. Yeah,
okay.
So there, I think, I haven't looked at it, but it's like 83 probably now. But when I did my pre-order, I remember seeing that it was starting somewhere in the 60s, and I was like, okay, that's still a reach. Like, it's still a pretty hefty price tag for a vehicle. But at the end of the day, the way that I looked at it is being part of the inertia to start the momentum to create more sustainability meant more than just the tight price tag. And so when I put in the pre-order, I kind of battened down the hatches and decided that there was going to be a lot of work that I needed to do to be able to afford it.
Right.
Yeah.
But they honored that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that would have been so much more.
Yeah. At the end of the day, with the way that I wanted it, because I jumped on the kitchen. I don't have it yet, and I jumped on the tent as well. if those had all been in the pricing, if they came at the price increase, it would have been just under 6 figures.
Have you driven a Tesla?
I've been in a Tesla.
Okay.
I was in the Tesla with ludicrous mode in it, and that is I've never actually driven.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you can't quite compare. I'm guessing you didn't test drive it before buying
No,
it.
definitely not. It's funny, there's a few different people that I've met. One person's at my gym, he actually stopped me and asked me if I was the person in the Rivian, and we had the conversation, and neither of us have seen the Rivian in person. So my Rivian is the first Rivian that I've seen in person, and to be honest, there's a lot of ifs in buying a truck that you haven't actually seen, and so getting there and actually seeing the truck and getting it in my hands and jumping in, it was actually a really nice surprise to see the level of craftsmanship, the quality, everything in general that they put into it. So
Wow, that's so nerve-wracking to like make that commitment and not even know how it drives.
yeah, and I guess I probably trust a little too much. I saw, they were very transparent, they were communicating a lot, they were giving so much information about what they were doing, and I felt like that made me more comfortable. And to be honest, the fact that it's an electric truck just, it checked the box. Like, even if it was like a fabric interior, 60,000 wouldn't have been like the worst number, especially for a truck that you're trying to take out into, the desert or, to go off-road and get away from everything.
So tell me about your charging situation.
So charging situation right now I have the wall charger. Right now it's not actually set up to charge at the number that it's supposed to be.
Okay.
It's supposed to charge at 11.1 kilowatts per hour, which is supposed to equate to about 25 miles per hour. Right now it's only pulling out 4 kilowatts, which means that 4 kilowatt hours, which means I'm only getting 6.9-ish miles per hour. It's enough for what I need. But I do need to get a new I have to get a 60 amp line in from Rocky Mountain Power. I am a shareholder. When they released that they were going to go public, I did jump on the shares. It's funny because I'm part of a bunch of different Facebook groups now, because I had a friend of mine mention I should jump on one of these groups to get more information about my Rivian and when it's going to get here. And there's one called the Rivian Stock Exchange or something like that. It's on Facebook. And it's so interesting to see everyone's thoughts on it.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the consensus?
I mean, it's mixed. Some of them are like, oh, Rivian's a total fail. Like, it's not going to do very well. Like, you saw it or release at 78. It hit a skyrocket price, and now it's back down to 36. It's like, and then to me, it's like Rivian's any investment in stock, at least for me, it's not a short-term gain. Like, I'm not trying to day trade, make $500,000 in one day. I'm just putting it in there to diversify our portfolio. And if my initial investment isn't currently there, I'm not going to get freaked out and follow the herd mentality of sell and run. Obviously, there's something to be said about selling and running, but there is something to be said that Rivian it's created the infrastructure that it needs to actually come to a point where it can be a worthy long-term investment.
What are the worst and best 3 parts about the truck? Not to make it negative, but there's pros and cons.
No, there's definitely something. So I think the most glaring worst is probably their decision to not go with Apple CarPlay or Android CarPlay, and inserting a system for Alexa. To me, that has actually been a lot more cumbersome than, say, if they had just gone with a Bluetooth connected device and they allowed you to kind of play with your Bluetooth however you wanted to. Like a Ford F-150 from 2015. I feel like has more functionality in terms of communicating through my device than Alexa does. I have to download Alexa, I have to ask Alexa to make my phone calls, which she can, but she can't send text messages, which is kind of tough. I haven't figured that part out yet, but technically whoever you're sending a message to needs to have signed up for Alexa to receive messages through Alexa as well. So I'm trying to figure out where that disconnect is, and but that's one that's okay, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh.
Before Rivian's most recent software update, which this is the last one, but before their most recent software update, they didn't have 400 amp charging or AV or something like that. So you couldn't get to 350 kilowatt hours from a fast charge. So they just released that. I haven't had a chance to try it, but I took this thing out to the salt flats to test its 0 to 60 and its top speed. And on the way out there, I thought, I'm going to get to this 350 kilowatt station, be charging for 30 minutes, and I'm back on the road. More likely it was about 40 minutes to an hour or so of charging. And it was because it wasn't able to take on the full charge. Another part of it is that the battery wasn't preconditioned, so it wasn't able to take on the full charge as quickly as possible, but technically the software wasn't allowing it. Now it's closer. The last glaring part was I had no idea that over-the-air updates would completely immobilize my car, and so I did it while I was working, and I got stuck in a parking lot for 30 minutes. Oh, no. So that's one that I wasn't aware of, and that's the learning curve where, you know, luckily I'm mostly self-employed. I, you know, have a lot of flexibility with my work. The tough part is that, you know, I'm sitting in a parking lot for a client just looking kind of like I have no idea what I'm doing because my car is turning on and off and like things are going, like making noises because the software is implementing, so. Yeah.
Okay, so 3 rock star things about it.
I mean, obviously, again, I've already mentioned it before. The fact that it's EV, Rockstar, the distance that you're able to get with the vehicle, way better than I was anticipating with an electric vehicle to begin with, you know, in my price range. So that's like the biggest one is that it's EV, it has the range that I need. The next thing after that is obviously like the power. Like you can't discount the fact that the vehicle has 800 plus horsepower. It's able to go 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. And just in general, like that feeling of your gut going into your throat when you're like flooring it is very exciting. The most exciting part is that it's so new. There's so many features that are going to be developed as they're going on. Like their Driver Plus currently works on the highway, great. I think that's it's a really nice feature because when I'm driving, I can trust that the car is moving along on its own, but it doesn't currently use it in the city because you don't have full self-driving yet. So what's nice about it is that there's a possibility that that's on the horizon. And then all of the capabilities that are currently possible with this vehicle as software continues to develop is really exciting to be looking out for because it's like I've got a product that's continuously evolving and that makes it really exciting.
So I really had a blast riding around in Eugene's Rivian R1T. It really is a great truck. I would love to see this thing in action on the salt flats or, you know, on some other terrain other than the road. But I'm glad that he was able to share his insights with us about this vehicle. So what do you guys think? Are you on the wait list for a Rivian? Are you thinking Tesla Cybertruck all the way? It's nice to see this EV truck on the road, and I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Eugene for filling us in. Actually, he has a YouTube channel where he makes some videos about his Rivian. If you want to go check it out, head here, and I'm sure he would appreciate the support. I also want to give a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Your support means so much, especially since I'm deciding to do this full time because I just love it that much. So if you were on the fence about signing up for Patreon, please consider signing up and helping Ellie in Space grow. And I can't wait to share with you all of the videos that I have planned, that I'm currently working on, and the future ones that, you know, a girl can dream. I have some big ideas. If you're not already subscribed, please make sure to hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Toodaloo!